Hello, hello, lovely beings. Here we are again. And how cool is it that it's again the 17th of the month and it's the 17th podcast.
Yes.
So it's like oh, it's so divine. And I'm like so excited again today. The Human Lightbulbs podcast, where I talk with inspiring human beings, humanitarians that are inspiring this world and helping this world become a better place. And I'm MissHellbreaker, Janneke Hellebrekers. I come from Holland. Hellbreaker is my real surname. So thank you, Dad, because that is what I actually do. I'm freeing people from hell slash matrix slash system and become more happier and healthier and live their life how they're supposed to live. And wherever I help them with, I do the podcast, I do videos, I do talks, I do lives, I do workshops, ebooks. I recently made an ebook, Hacking the Matrix. My book is coming out soon, called Whispers of the New Earth, with inspiration and poems and whatever realizations I had during the last years. So that's coming out soon. So excited about that. And I also do energetic healings and healing courses. And I help people with several financial opportunities online. So wherever you need help with, I'm there. And today I have Christopher Michael, the Gut Health Gladiator, here. So we're very happy to have you here.
I appreciate you, and it is a pleasure and a blessing to be here. I really appreciate you reaching out and having me on your platform. Like I said, it's a pleasure, it's a calling of mine. So I'm glad that you did reach out because this is like the next step for me. So
Really good. And yeah, you call yourself Gut Health Gladiator, and that is something that is really important for people to know, to heal that, and to clean that and stuff. So it's really cool to talk about that as well. And maybe you can already say well, what are some things that you already do?
absolutely. Yeah, gut health. A few short years ago, I was in dire straits. I was dealing with addiction problems. In my past, I was, addicted to heroin, meth, you name it. I had done it and was addicted to it. And once I kicked those habits, I realized that the main bugaboo that I had was food. I was highly addicted to food and processed food. I was Whataburger. We have a place over here called Whataburger, and I was Whataburger's number one customer. I would be there 3 times a day
Oh,
sometimes, and it showed. I was bloated, I was inflamed, and the way God works and the way the universe works, He showed me that, hey, man, gut health is the absolute paramount thing that you need to focus on if you want to be, the most vital and have the most vitality in your life and just basically get your life back underway. So I aligned with several companies and several people that really helped bring my awareness up to that level and helped me clean out I always call them my guts and butts. I like to bring a little humor to it. And, I was almost 260 pounds, and I started doing small mindful practices, just basically not necessarily cutting anything out at the time. I just started putting in nutrient dense foods and started detoxing my body from things like glyphosate and atrazine and all these different things. And in its due time, I stopped eating the processed stuff. I stopped eating lots of the meat that I was eating and started kind of going towards more of a plant-based, fruit-based diet. I like to call it a live it. And yeah, so gut health was, and little did I know that gut health was tied to all of these things like addiction and all of that stuff. Because when I was younger, they had put me on, at the age of 13, they had diagnosed me with bipolar disorder. And the first drug that they actually put me on was Klonopin, which is like Xanax. So at the age of 13, they had me on a heavy dose of Xanax, basically, and about 10 other medications. including lithium, Neurontin, Depakote, all of these different heavy hitting drugs that just ravaged my guts and
Oh,
butts,
wow.
just destroyed my gut microbiome. So I had no idea about that, but I was kind of bitter about that for a while until I realized that, hey, bro, this is your calling. And if you did not go through that, then you wouldn't be able to help the people that are going through it right now. Like, you may be able to like study about it and do things, but learning knowledge from a book versus learning knowledge from true experience, the true experience is going to trump the book knowledge any day of the week. So I'm glad I went through all of that now, and it makes sense. I used to beat myself up about it all the time, but now it makes complete sense, and I had to go through it so that I could be doing what I'm doing now, and which is helping other people get through those, through their personal hells, what I like to call it, because that's where I was. I was in hell. I was suicidal. I tried to basically kill myself every single day when I was going through heroin addiction. And, I just couldn't.
Oh,
I had
wow.
friends that were dying from the same things that I was doing. Um, now it makes sense. And that's why I'm here. It's my calling. So yeah, gut health is absolutely paramount if you are going to level up in your health, in your spirituality, or anywhere in life.
Yeah, and you said like you were like addicted, but how would you you said like the addiction to food and then the addiction to drugs. Because like a lot of people think like food is not really an addiction.
Mm,
Uh, but it's like, oh yeah, that's just something we do.
mhm.
Can you explain like how food is addicted in combination with like how in what way against like in comparison with drugs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, after getting put on all this pharmaceuticals and things, the addiction just manifested. So I went from heavy pharmaceuticals, and once those stopped working, I ended up getting hurt at one point, hurt my back real bad, and then I got put on Vicodins and different things, and then boom, that just sent me down the rabbit hole. I started, once you stop doing those drugs, you get super sick. They call it dope sickness. And once my supply ran out, once the doctor stopped writing scripts, well, I don't want to be dope sick. So I went to the streets and started scoring smack, scoring heroin and doing things like that. So it all manifested. And then once I stopped doing that, I had nothing left except food. And food is absolutely the number one most abused drug on the planet right now. And that goes for sugar, processed foods, even just like regular food, because that's something that I found myself finding comfort in. I would find comfort in the foods that I was eating because I couldn't find comfort in the drugs that I was taking because I stopped taking those. And and I'd gone to all the different rehabs. I've been to countless rehabs. I can't tell you how many I've been to. And their solution, quote unquote, was the same thing. Let's put you on other pharmaceuticals to get you off of the drugs, and then taper you off of those drugs with other drugs. And it just never worked. So the way I got off of the drugs was cold turkey. I ended up going to prison, and the jail that I went to, they didn't give you any kind of detox meds. And so I had to sit it out cold turkey. I was detoxing from all of
Wow.
it, every last thing. And then, yes, once I got out of jail, I realized I blew up. I was skinny as could be. I didn't have any meat on my bones. And I get out of jail and I start eating. I was going to Whataburger, like I was saying, 3 times a day, sometimes 4. I had Diet Cokes, like a 44-ounce Diet Coke in my hand at all times, 4 or 5 of those a day. And
Oh,
little did I know that my guts were just ravaged. I had no microbiome left. I had basically the beginning phases of leaky gut. And yeah, so big food is owned. A lot of the food, most of the food that is out there these days, all of the fast food and the majority of the food in the supermarkets is all owned and operated by big food, who is owned by the big tobacco industry. Back in the day, the people that started the tobacco industry saw that they could capitalize on people's number one addiction, food. And so they started researching and figuring out how to make the food more addictive. And that's exactly what they did. And that's where we're at now. Like, we're starting to see, they put all the food dyes, all of these sugars, processed carbs, all that kind of stuff, spraying the crops that they were using with glyphosate. I call it glyphosatin because it really is, it's the devil. It's the devil of the food industry. And that's what I bring awareness around. That's the main thing, is the glyphosate, because I have clients to this day that keep calling and they say they have celiac disease or, gluten intolerance. And I'm like, it's not the gluten. We've been eating bread for thousands of years. So, something's got to give. And it's like they just started spraying the crops with glyphosate in the past 100 years. So that's when we started seeing all of these diseases come up, like autism and all of these things that are directly related to glyphosate. So yeah, it's been hijacked, and it's on people like you and me to raise awareness for that. And that's what I'm here doing, so I'm shouting it from the rooftops, and I feel like that's my main calling right now, is to really just raise awareness around the subject that, yeah, the food industry's been hijacked. And yes, it may be delicious, quote unquote, but the other thing that these food industry people have done is patented actual parasites. There is actual patents on parasites that they have patented and that they actively put out in our environment. So the parasites feed off of the heavy metals, which give us the cravings. That's why if you're craving carbs, if you're craving the processed sugars and all of this stuff, it's not really you. It's the bugs that you have going on in your system, and they are feeding off of the heavy metals that you're eating. So, that's the root cause of a lot of this stuff. The big C, cancer and all of that stuff is directly related to parasites. And most of the doctors don't know, because they're funded by companies that own big food and big pharma, and it's not in their best interest, especially if they want to make money like they do. So they don't really know about the stuff that we're talking about. They don't know anything about nutrition, and that's not every doctor, but the majority of the white coats out there just don't know. So that's where I feel like it's on us to raise awareness around these subjects.
And I think in America is also one of the worst countries with the fast food and people getting bigger and people not even aware of the dangers. Like when you're like even here, like in Mexico, I see people just drinking, I don't know how many big bottles of cola, and I'm like, people still doing that. And I'm like the awareness is not fully there yet, but I feel it's coming. I think more and more people finding it out, what's in there. And now I recently even Dr. Phil was talking with someone in America, even Dr. Phil was talking with someone that saying they put addictive stuff in the food deliberately to get you addicted to bad stuff. And about what's coming out, the awareness is growing, I feel.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. And, unfortunately, we have to get sicker sometimes so that we hit that precipice of okay, well, there's nowhere else to go down. I'm on my deathbed. And I've tried everything else that the doctors have told me. And really the only thing the doctors do in America these days is suppress symptoms. That's all they're trained to do. So the medications that they give us from Big Pharma are all made from petroleum-based, additives and different things. So they're not going to help you. They may help the symptoms, but they always make other symptoms pop up. So that's why you have people that are going to the doctor every week or every month, and the doctor's like, well, we'll see you next week or see you next month. And they're counting on that. They're counting on you addicted to these things to keep you coming back. Because really, if the doctor's doing their job, they're going to help you heal yourself, because nobody can heal you for you. They can only bring you to the healing for yourself. And it's the saying is true. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And a lot of these doctors are just so comfortable in their lifestyle, and they have a lot of bills. They have these big houses and boats and different things that they have to keep paying for, and they can't pay for that if they're healing their clientele. They got to keep their clients coming back. So, and that's the best way to do that, is to not educate them on food or water or parasites or any of these things, because if they actually address the root cause, they would be out of business, you know?
Yeah, and also a lot of people don't even know that parasites are a root cause of a lot of things, and that you can really do something about that. And also that there's a lot of natural cures for almost everything out there. Like, people are not aware of it. And even people that are like quite open to certain things are not open to that. They're still like, yeah, but the doctor said, and they're still going there. And I'm like, there's so many things out there that can really help people and cure people, and
Yeah.
people need to know that.
Yep. Absolutely. And another big one is alcohol. Alcohol is like, it's a straight up neurotoxin. And the doctors will actually promote, well, one glass of wine a night or a couple glasses is healthy. And, that may be true if you're drinking wine in Italy where they're not spraying the crops with glyphosate and all that. But we're in America. Every single wine crop basically is sprayed with glyphosate. And it's just it's a downward spiral, and I see family members and dear loved friends that I have that are drinking every night, and they're wondering why they're not getting better, and it's because of the alcohol, it's because of the food, or I call it Frankenfood because it's not really food. And the more that people like us start to speak about the healing power of actual nutrient dense food, the more they try to censor us, which makes me realize, hey, we're right above target, and it just makes me want to scream it louder. They can ban me from 1,000 or 1,000,000 different platforms, but guess what? I'm going to make 1,000,001. I'm going to keep making platforms, and I'm going to keep spreading the truth, about this broken food industry and broken health industry that we are in right now.
Yeah, very good. But I think it's not only in America with the wine, it's everywhere. Like, I
yeah.
also heard stories like of wine farmers getting sick from the things that they spray themselves,
Yep.
also in Europe. And I also saw recently like a study about like how much is also in beer, how much
Oh,
pesticides and stuff also. So
yep.
people are not even aware of what they're drinking. And yeah, it's like, and what they're ingesting in general. Like, you can make better choices for yourself, and then you feel better, but it's because of the addiction, it's really difficult. And I also understand that people from America, it's even more difficult to get rid of the addictions.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy because I have friends that'll go over to like Italy or
Yeah.
places where glyphosate is banned, and they'll eat the pasta, they'll eat the pizza and all of this stuff, and they'll actually lose weight. They'll go overseas and lose weight from eating all of their favorite foods, but the second that they come back over to United States and they eat the same things, they are blowing up and they're back to inflammation, they're being inflamed and just back to the way they were living before. And yeah, it's a sad thing. But with that being said, it's on us. It's on us to shine brightly and just speak from our experience, because that's the thing that I do have is my experience. I was eating all that crap and drinking heavily every day. Once I got rid of the heroin, all that other addictions, after my son passed away, I was drinking a handle of whiskey every night. Me and my buddy. And I blew up like a blimp, and I was just miserable. And so it's a bad place to be, but it's also a freeing place to be. Rock bottom is one of the most freeing places that you can be, because look, there's only one place to go, and that's up. So
Mm.
but yeah, man, the food industry here has been broken and it's been infiltrated. And but even then, it's a freeing place to be, because you know who is in your corner and who isn't. It's either you pay the farmer or you pay big pharma. And that's the way I like to look at it now. And that's the principles that I have adopted. I have started paying the farmer who's making nutrient dense food, instead of, and he's keeping me away from big pharma. So, you know, the choice is truly ours. And if we vote with our dollars, then that's the number one way that we can have an impact on these companies. Because if we stop buying the stuff and the garbage that they're selling, then eventually their bottom line is going to force them to stop making it, you know, and step their game up.
And their numbers are already declining
Mm-hmm.
from a lot of companies, and a lot of their, like, you see, like, you hear closures of certain things, and
Yep.
you know the awareness is growing. So I
Yep.
really feel like, yeah, well, and indeed we're still pioneers. We're still pioneering here.
Yeah.
But at one point, people will finally find out, like, oh, they're like actually have some good things to say,
Yeah.
and we're actually wanting to help people. We want to make a difference in people's lives, and you have so much experience in so many things that you can really share. Like, hey, I did it, so you
Yeah.
can too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, so, you know, another thing that I like to touch on other than food is the trauma that we've gone through, because a lot of times trauma is directly linked to the addictions and things that we have. You know, a lot of people go through childhood trauma or trauma throughout their adulthood that they rely on food and other drugs to go to, and they don't have any other modalities to rely on. So that's the next phase of my life, is to jump into somatic breath work. And you know, that has been absolutely pivotal in my life. I did one somatic breathwork session and was able to release basically all the trauma that I had from not only my son's death, but lots of things from my childhood and all of that, you know, that it made me realize, okay, bro, this is the next step. Gut health is awesome, but let's help them also release the trauma, man, because a lot of times you can't heal your gut if you've got a dysregulated nervous system. So that's the one thing that I like. The two things that I like to couple together is the traumatic trauma release and somatic breath, and of course pair that with the gut health.
And I think people are not also, again, not really aware of all the trauma they've got. I think, like, almost everybody is traumatized by this whole society,
Yeah.
and not even aware of it. Like, it took me years after my normal job to get the stress out, to get like the my nervous system relaxed, that I'm like, can be really relaxed now. And it took
Yeah.
me really long time, because the normal, like, society is like busy, 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 going on and on, like making sure you all the time have. That's why we also have all those distractions going on, so you don't feel what's actually going on right in your body, and like emotional states.
Yeah.
And that is something that is also really important, and people are not aware of, like, their childhood, not only like the society, but also childhood, like what traumas are there, and it starts there. But when you were little, you couldn't feel it, you didn't know what it was, so you start stuffing yourself. I was also big, like you said, you were also much bigger. I was also much big, but it was like emotional eating, and people only after they start healing their trauma, they find out, oh, I actually was emotional eating.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. And it goes back for us men and some women too, and some women in some cultures, it goes all the way back to circumcision. And that's something that I did not even think of, you know, because they say, oh, at 8 days old or whenever, you know, they circumcise us men, they say that we don't remember that, but it is 1000% true that the body stores trauma. So we've got a lot of dysregulated men running around, and women as well, from these traumatic experiences, because that is the most traumatic thing you can have done to you as a man or a woman, is to have your genitalia mutilated like that. So we've got men and women running around that don't remember up here, but they remember in their body, and their body stores all this trauma, which is so detrimental. And, unfortunately, there's no going back to, you can't go and reverse that operation, but what you can do is release that trauma. And that is an absolute must for us in this society that we're in nowadays. And getting to a place of rest, that is absolutely paramount too, because like you were saying, they've got us distracted, they've got us on our phones and doing all this stuff that really doesn't truly matter when it comes to healing the body or anything else really, except for keeping us distracted from what they're really truly doing. And that's one thing that I have noticed in the past few years that I have just absolutely, my body has brought me to, is just a place of rest. Like, man, it's okay to just sit around and do nothing. Like, that's what my body has needed. Like, bro, you need to do nothing so your body can heal. So, I encourage anybody listening to this, if you are going through any of that stuff, just find a place that you can go, get out into Mother Nature, into the woods, get to the beach or wherever you're at, and just rest, man. Go for a hike and just breathe.
Yeah, that is one of the best things you can do. But it's like it's one of the biggest things, like the trauma, and to get that out. And we did a lot of things already, but like what you said, I want to come back about the circumcision. It's the first thing, like physical harm to a little baby. But they also, the first thing when they get born, they put them already, like they take the blood from their heels
Mm,
as well. Like this
mm,
is the first thing what they do. Then they
yeah.
put, they do the circumcisions. That is traumatizing. Then they put them all those toxins in, well, like little babies.
Mm,
Like you have to be very careful with giving them food, but then they put like a whole plethora of toxins in their bodies. And
yeah.
people only now connecting the dots with what is happening now. So I
Yeah.
saw a video of a woman like finding now out, like, oh my, like they call it SIDS, I think, like SIDS. Like my
Hmm.
baby had that just because of they had like this. And
Yeah.
people only now connecting the dots. And like I saw the agony of that woman and the grief of that woman. And it's like, it's not coming out also from what is happening now. It's not coming out yet, but it's gonna come out. And
Yeah.
it's like drip, 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 and it's gonna
Yeah.
come out. And then when people find out, they need to detox. They have to detox.
Yeah.
And I already detox while I have nothing. I'm like healthy and I'm detoxing because I know about the parasite, I know about the heavy metals, I know about all the shit that they put in the food. I'm
Hmm.
already detoxing. We're detoxing not only for ourselves, but for everybody.
Yep.
And those people will come. They want to know. They want to be healthy.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the big load is coming from people that find out and they need to change their lives.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, that it's a traumatic thing, and it's sad, to see these sudden infant deaths and all that, and people not connecting the dots. It took me years, it took me almost a lifetime to figure all that out. And and it's one of those things. I have to speak from a place of compassion, and I catch
Mm.
myself wanting to be enraged about it and start talking all the smack about the companies and all that, but I just have to come from a place of compassion and just realize that, man, we have been coerced. This
Mm.
is just modern day eugenics, and
Mm.
that's what's going on right now. They're not forcefully mandating these things, but they are tricking us with all of the ads on TV, with all the ads that we see on Instagram and Facebook and all these places that are advertising these things. They are very, very tricky, and they know what they are doing. And it's not for me to preach from a place of, because I've been there and I've been dogmatic about it, and I have come from a place other than compassion, and it just drives people further away. And yeah, so the truth always will come to light, and it's on us to first take care of ourselves and clean our own bodies out. That's the only way that we are ever going to have an impact in this world, is if we take care of ourselves first, because that then radiates outwardly. Whatever we do to ourselves radiates outwardly, good or bad. and people pay attention, and that is going to attract your tribe. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And it's taken a little while longer for me, because I was so detrimental to myself for such a long time. I was putting out ripples of, everything bad. And so whenever I started taking my health seriously, the people that I was in contact with and my friends and even some of my family members, they're like, what is this guy talking about? Like, I've had people ask me, what cult did you join? I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I don't know the name of it. But whatever it is, I'm glad I joined it, because I feel better than I ever have in my entire life. And then that alone has attracted the people that actually are wanting to do the same for themselves. So, yeah, whoever's watching this, just know that it starts with you. It truly starts with you. And we cannot change anybody, no matter what. You can't force anybody to do anything, but you can just change yourself and be so vibrant and vital that people have no other option but to ask questions and be inquisitive about, hey, what's this guy doing? Like a couple of years ago, he was shooting heroin, and now he's preaching health, and he's actually not just preaching it, but he's embodying it. So like, he's got to be doing something that's actually working. So, that's the way I have to look at it, from this point, in my life.
Yeah, and my whole body started tingling when what you were saying. So it's like
Yeah.
truth, like
Yeah.
you feel it,
Yeah.
that this we have to like show the way. We're like way showers. We do it ourselves, and then you get like so vibrant and so happy and so healthy. You can't like you can't be contained anymore. Like you are the way.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
other people gravitate to you, and then you talk in the same frequency and energy, and then you're like, see, you're not the only one out there. And then you find more and more people on the same level, and that's like, and then everything makes sense and all the dots connect. And you like, while you're in it, you have no idea, like the puzzle pieces are not there, only later it all makes sense, like
Yeah.
so much.
Yep, and that's what like. I help the men in the Bay County Jail here, and they're in a program called the Lifeline program. And it's funny because when I was on my way to prison, I would have there was a couple people from a church that would come out, and they would speak to us every week, and I would do it mainly to get out of my pod. I would not do it because I was a Bible thumper or was really interested in the word or anything like that. I would do it just to go out and talk and to get out of the pod. And it's funny because now that's basically what I do. And I had no idea that that was what God was doing in my life to show me, hey, bro, this is another way that you can connect with people, and a very powerful one. So it's funny because when we're going through it, we have no clue. And actually, when I was going through it, the more I saw healed people that were talking about healing and this and that, the more I kind of got resentful about it. So, I have men that I speak to now that are in that boat, but I have them realize, and I bring their awareness around, like, look, dude, you have got the ability to connect with the real 1%, the people that are outcast and that nobody else can connect with. And that's because of the addictions and the afflictions that you have actually gone through. So don't let all of that be a waste, because I have friends that have not made it because they didn't step into that power when they had the choice and the ability to. They decided to keep going down and being a detriment to themselves. So they are no longer here, or they're in prison for life, and things like that, which still, if they're alive, their process is still going and they can still reach people. But, but that's the thing that I like to raise awareness around is like, man, utilize the addictions, utilize your pain and everything that you're going through so it's not for naught, so that you actually can turn that crap into gold, transmute that negative energy into something beautiful.
Yes, very well said, very well said. And that is possible for everybody. It's possible to turn your life around in so many ways, like in so many layers, different things, like, and the answers are out there. Like we both provide them for many things. So really, like I would like really say to people, like, if this resonates with you, like really like reach out to you. All the links are underneath here. If you want to know more about him, and follow him also on Instagram. He's really like really inspirational, because that's why I reached out to him, because I saw what he was sharing, and it was like, for me, it was really inspirational and really profound. And that's what you also get when you've been through a lot of things. You have much more depth, much more love, much more compassion for your fellow human being. Like you're like, everybody has that same capacity that you have, if they can reach that, like they can turn it around. Yeah, that let people know it's possible. It's all possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's like, I touched on it before. Nobody's going to do this work for you. Nobody can do the personal shadow work. Nobody can dance with your shadows for you. But that's one of the most beautiful parts of life, is just getting in the darkness and shining bright, man, and bringing yourself to the healing that you so rightfully deserve, because we all deserve it. And we're all on a healing journey. We've been on a healing journey since we were in our mother's womb, because the amount of toxins and things that are in the environment, and that is one of the epiphanies that I had, is like, bro, I've been on a healing journey since the day I was born and before. So, and we don't just heal overnight. And it's something that you just really have to be diligent about. And, a lot of these transformation people, they're talking about massive transformations and things like that. Well, I go the opposite. I say dream big. Dream about that perfect life that you have, but then when it comes to action, we are going to go on the opposite end of the spectrum, and we are going to take mustard seed sized steps towards that massive goal that you have, because that's the only way that I was able to do it. And so dream big, start small, and that's one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten.
Yeah, little steps will get you there, like day by day. And all like little changes, like tweak, and then you get more energy, and then you have more energy again to make the next step. So that's a really good advice. And what else could you maybe say to people that are at this moment, because a lot of people are struggling with multiple things, what is happening in the world? What would you say, like as a saying, like, what do you want to say to people that are struggling right here, right now, what they could do at this very moment for themselves?
Man, it would just have to be put the bat down. There's enough people beating you up. That was one thing. I had the worst self-talk. I was talking badly about myself, to other people, always constantly putting myself down. And if it wasn't for one of my men's coaches and mentors that told me, bro, put the bat down, dude. There's enough people beating you up and that want to beat you up. And the reason that is because you are constantly beating yourself up. So come from a place of compassion, give yourself a big old hug, and just know that you're on that journey, man, and that there are other people that are counting on you to find the way. So I like to say that, man, I totally just went blank, but it's about blazing your own trail. Start blazing your own trail, and so your search for clarity will blaze the trail for other people. So, and this has been a direct product of my life that I have seen. I've got friends and family that, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but if it wasn't for me taking care of myself and treating myself with love and compassion, then they wouldn't have had the space to do the same for themselves, So yeah, put the bat down and just treat yourself well, man. You are the star player in your life, man. So yeah, treat yourself well.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It starts with yourself, and the self-love and the self-care, and what you say to yourself. So
absolutely.
That's a good one. Thank you so much for this
welcome.
wonderful, wonderful talk.
Yeah.
And I already know we're going to see you much more.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you holding space for me to hold space for other people, man. That's what it's all about. We've done the work, and it's a continuous thing, man. It's not like, You know, I'm continuously detoxing my body from toxins in my mind and my spirit. So it's just a daily practice, man. And it's just, I appreciate you having me on and allowing me to share a little bit about my story. And I totally look forward to having you on my podcast episode. So, yeah.
That's great. Happy to. So thank you very much, and thank you everybody for watching. Let us know how what you thought of it, and yeah, lots of love from us, and you can do it. You got this. You got this. You got this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.